And we are coming down in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to Getting Sports with Drunk. I'm your host, Cupcake the Riddler, and I'm joined by
Mock.
Waveable.
No.
Garlic Farm Souls.
The Mouse Crust Passy.
And the Red Baron.
No.
Pulled pork.
I like that garlic farm
there.
souls.
Welcome to a full house episode of Getting Sports with Drunk. Sports. And yeah, we're here.
We
Starting
are here,
lineups.
yeah.
Starting lineups. Kyle, what do you got from the Sicko collection?
Ooh, not the Sicko collection, but from the Stop and Shop collection. I'm drinking brisk iced tea.
Nice. Can or bottle?
Can. 36 pack.
Jesus Christ almighty.
Excellent. Otherwise known as the kidney stone pack.
That's what we're talking about here, yep.
That's right. Mass, what do you got on tap tonight?
Right now, seltzer, but I'm probably going to dip into the tequila pretty soon.
You should mix the seltzer and the tequila.
I might.
my
It's
God.
grapefruit.
Nobody's ever done that before. Kyle, you should open a bar.
Me, smarter than the
puzzles.
average player.
Kyle, you should open a bar and call it Souls' Alley.
And I would only solve 4 things.
Picklebacks, Fireball nips, Too Juicy, and for some reason, Chardonnay.
That's fine, but you don't get to choose. I get to choose what you drink.
I have a feeling the Chardonnay is going to go bad. Unless you start making people do like Chardonnay Fireball Boilermakers.
Oof.
We'll
That's
see.
pretty rough.
Kendall, what are you drinking?
From the I'm a Dirtbag collection, I have a revisit to the San Giuseppe Cool Sweet Red. This one came out of the fridge, though.
So it is cool.
It is literally cool by temperature and name.
Did you buy it?
No.
Yeah, no shit.
This came from Connoisseur Media back like in 2019, maybe.
That's terrible.
Still making my way through the wines.
I told you, Kendall, what you should do is you should take some of the wine, put it in ice cube trays, freeze it, and then make sangria with the rest of the wine and use the wine to chill down the sangria.
It's a good call. I better do that.
We could just
That way,
chew
Well,
on
no,
the
but-
ice.
well, I'm saying, but if you do it that way, then eventually what happens is when your sangria starts getting warm, the sangria ice cubes will melt and still have sangria.
It's a good call.
Thanks. Mock, what are you drinking?
I have a Miller High Life from New Year's.
Nice. Can or bottle?
Bottle.
Nice. Nice. I am drinking from the Josh Kalani collection, Coors, the banquet beer.
Nice.
Yep. We were at his house for his son's birthday today. He asked if there were any more Coors banquets in the fridge. I opened it up. There were 4. I said, nope, but then put them in my pockets and went home.
I like that a lot, actually.
Yep, now he's at home drinking PBR like a loser. And, yeah, there you go. Toasts of excellence.
Yep.
Fire away.
This is going to sound like a shot to 2 of you, but I promise it's not. Toast of excellence to the
Hold on.
Commanders.
I was going to say, real quick, this sounds a lot like a Mock/Paul dig.
A little bit, but it's not. 2 of you might take offense to it because it is the Commanders, but toast of excellence to the Commanders for making it to the NFC Championship game, because now every NFC team has been to the NFC Championship game since the last time Dallas went, except for Dallas.
Well, yeah, duh.
And that's very funny to me because, fuck Dallas.
Is that real? Like
Yeah.
every
Yeah.
team?
Every
Every-
single team in the And every NFC team, sorry. Every team in the NFC has been to the NFC Championship game except for Dallas.
You figure Dallas hasn't been to an NFC title game since the 90s.
No, I know. I'm just trying to
95.
think. Like, that's pretty wild.
Well, you figure
It's wild.
Well, I'm saying you figure since 1990, what, 7?
95.
95, you figure the Packers have won a Super Bowl, the Bears have been to a Super Bowl, Brett Favre went as a Viking, the Lions lost last year, right?
Yep.
The Rams won a Super Bowl, San Fran's been to like 400 Super Bowls and not won a single one of them.
Yay!
Seattle's been to the Super Bowl, Arizona's been to the Super Bowl, Giants have been to the Super Bowl, Eagles have been, Commanders are now in the NFC Championship game. Falcons lost a Super Bowl, Panthers lost a Super Bowl, Saints won a Super Bowl, Tampa Bay won a Super Bowl. So not actually, we're like the Vikings and Lions away from having every team been to the Super Bowl except for Dallas.
That'd be so funny.
If Washington can make the Super Bowl, then the Lions can make it next year, and then the Commanders the Vikings will be better again. There you go. Boom. Problem solved.
So let's see. Cowboys last one in 95, Bears last one in 2010, Giants in 11, Seahawks in 14,
Oh, it's cool that
Cardinals
we're
in
second.
15,
I like that a lot.
Panthers in 16, or I'm sorry, Panthers in 15, Falcons in 16, Vikings 17, Saints 18, Packers 20, Tampa Bay 20, Rams 21, San Francisco 23, Lions 23, and Commanders and Eagles this year.
It's pretty cool that we're making fun of Dallas, and I'm just as bad as Dallas.
Well, it is funny that their coordinators from just 2 years ago are now coaching against each other in the championship game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny.
So I'll piggyback off of that and go from what you thought wasn't trying to be a shot, but could have sounded like one, to one that basically is definitely going to sound like a shot, just because I think it's funny. Sorry, Mark. I've just been like a huge fan of like, and really honestly, you know what? I'll do it to both of us, Mark. I'm gonna put polls in the group as well. But like, it's just been real fun the past week, like looking at the Joe Sheen and Ryan Poles GM debacles, and just really watching them, unfold. You got Joe Sheen who didn't want to pay Saquon, or as much as he wanted, whatever, and now he's not only in the NFC Championship game, but for their rival team. Not to mention, Saquon said yesterday at the presser, my best friend was in the press box cheering for me, and it was Daniel Jones.
Daniel Jones and Sterling Shepard were there.
It's kind of a real big fuck you to the Giants right there. And I'm not saying
what
it
it
was
isn't. Like,
No, I'm not saying it was a big fuck you. Like, they weren't saying fuck you. I'm just saying it was a middle finger to Giants fans, just in general.
yeah.
Like it was the universe giving the Giants a middle finger. And then you have the Bears, who for pretty much for back-to-back drafts, decided that they were going to pass up on a defensive lineman just for both of them to be highlighting the fucking NFC divisional round weekend, and Jalen Carter and Jared Verse. Well, Darnell Wright is pretty much requesting a trade, and Rome Odunze had like 14 catches this year. Love it. Just a bunch of bad teams being bad.
He like started off great, Odunze.
He didn't even start off. It wasn't even great. He just
like the early in the like he had a couple of big games. And I remember, I mean, that was kind of Kendall's like sticking point to trading for him in fantasy, but like it looked like he was kind of like taking off a little bit, because even remember early, I mean, the Bears looked real good early and then didn't. But
he won me one game.
He had three good games this year. He had sorry, I was looking at the wrong part of the schedule there. He had 4 good games. He was good against Indianapolis. He had 11 for 112 and a touchdown. And then Arizona, he had 7 for 104. And then against San Francisco, he had 5 for 42 and 2 touchdowns. And then against Detroit, he had 7 for 77.
I think he was really trying to focus on making the veterans happy.
I don't think it was so much making them happy, because like I don't think DJ Moore was unhappy with like his with target share. I think he was unhappy with how he was being used. Like DJ Moore, like the whole thing is like DJ Moore is like he's his most versatile when he has the ball in his hands and what he's doing after the catch. But he still wants to run routes. He doesn't want to catch the ball behind the line of scrimmage all day. I honestly think the problem with, first of all, not to get away from the toast too much, but I think a big part of it was you have a quarterback who didn't have a great offensive line in college and improvised a lot to win, combined with an incompetent offensive coordinator and head coach combo that didn't know how to game plan for him. And then you had three, you had two established veterans and one, hopeful, star rookie wide receiver, plus a vertical threat tight end. So, I just think that for, Caleb, with the combination of the bad offensive line and the poor coaching mixed with all of these route runners, it was almost like one of those things where, I think there was just too much going on. I don't want to say that to make it, sound stupid, but, he's trying to wait for 4 routes to develop and scan the field while trying not to die. And so I think in the beginning, I think Rome was kind of just the deep threat one-on-one type of guy. So it was just kind of the chuck it and pray, like the 50-50 balls. But it was just poorly done all the way around. And Caleb was just as much to blame as anybody else. I'm not going to sit there and sugarcoat it. He made all, with the exception of the interceptions, which is kind of a bummer because the interceptions are the one thing I don't really care about for a rookie quarterback because you can fix interceptions. It's a lot harder to fix knowing when to not get sacked. But we'll see. I mean, there's a new era of Chicago football now, so we'll see what goes on. Mach, do you have a toast?
The toast is to Josh Allen and the Bills and Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. Let's run back. What year was when they had the coin flip game? Was that 2-3 years ago?
2 years ago.
I'm excited to see that one come back because that was a great game, and even the end was insane. The ending.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see that make its way back.
Kendall?
I have a toast of disexcellence both to Pete Alonso and the New York Mets for not being able to come and get a deal done. Not over yet, but I would say pretty much not leaning in a good way. So, pretty disappointed about that. I think the Mets are making a right decision, but it still sucks. So, thanks, guys.
Yeah, but if you're the Mets, you're not going to give all this money just because this guy hit one big home run.
No, that's you're right. It's just.
He's been a fine player, but he hasn't. I don't know. To me, he hasn't been all the money he wants type of player.
100%.
I think he's just riding the coattails of having the hit that put the Mets into the postseason when they should have been having their rebuild year.
Yeah, it's too bad.
He'll be fine. I'm sure we forget all about that.
I hope so.
That Skip Bayless is a real dum-dum.
Yeah.
What did he do?
So during the Chiefs game, they showed Taylor Swift up in the box, and she was sitting with Caitlin Clark, right? And I guess Skip Bayless went on this tweeting rampage, saying that Caitlin Clark doesn't need to be with Taylor Swift because she's more famous than her. Meaning Caitlin Clark's the bigger star. And he wrote it in all caps like a real old guy.
I don't think that's true even in lesbian circles.
It's just so stupid. So people are just kind of ripping on him. It's just funny because of all things to how does that even happen?
Yeah.
You shouldn't sit with her.
And last but not least, Gilberto, do you have a toast?
A toast of excellence to the Dodgers front office for getting shit done, I guess.
He said begrudgingly.
I was listening to this thing today, Kyle, and I think it was, I thought of you the entire time. Because one of the questions on the show was, are the Dodgers ruining baseball by doing, and it's they're not. they found a loophole. They're using it, and other owners can do it. They just don't want to. They don't want to spend the money.
I don't disagree.
It's also like, as far as like the guys from Japan that came out, like, I think any team that got Otani would have had a great shot at getting the other two.
Yeah,
It's just, it is what it is.
I do love the stat though, the deferred money stat that I heard today. The Dodgers have more deferred money. What is it? They have more deferred money next year than the Rays have on their payroll this year.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, it's
Pretty
one of
close.
those things. At some point, the money's gonna hurt.
Yeah.
Like, at some point, it's gonna hurt them. But if you win a few World Series in that time, it doesn't matter.
Well,
Washes it out.
the other thing too, though, is like if you really break it down, it really might not ever hurt them. That's the other thing. Like everyone keeps saying that, and there is a possibility, a very real world possibility. But you have to figure too the amount of money that they're making from Japanese markets.
Oh yeah.
They basically found a loophole to negate the TV deal thing.
What I mean is, like, because who knows what'll happen, like luxury tax. Like, at some point, the contract will have an implication, like, team wise. But even still, even if, say, at the end of the Otani deal, if they become the worst team in baseball for 5 years, it doesn't matter. If they win 4 or 5 more worlds, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You know, like, I don't mind teams kind of selling out to win. I mean, we saw the Rams do it a couple years ago to win this. Like, it was trade, bring guys in, and you get a Super Bowl out of it. So if you, I mean, not saying they're not good, they obviously are still good, but like, if you're not, it doesn't matter. You got what you needed.
Massey, what is? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
To the New York Yankee villain,
What?
which could be good for baseball.
I didn't hear the first part of what you said.
They could be like the new New York Yankee villain card. Like
the team that has all the players and all the resources.
Well, I mean, I think that they already fit that bill. I mean,
I'm just saying it could be good for baseball because you're going to see teams go out and really try to fucking beat them. You're not going to see people fucking go out there and throw their fucking shit against them.
Right.
Massey, what was the Stafford trade? Like, what did you guys get back besides Stafford? Did you guys get picks?
No, we got Stafford. We might have gotten a fourth round, but
honestly,
no,
I thought it was some later round stuff.
Do you know who you picked with that pick?
Give me a second.
I was listening. There was another debate.
Quarterback Matthew Stafford, and that's it.
I was listening to this other debate today too. Is there any way that you can spin it that the Lions won the trade?
No.
It was like a debate they were having.
No.
Because that's the guy said. The guy said until they win a Super Bowl, the answer is no.
Yeah, if they won the Super Bowl this year, then maybe. But
well, so the reason
even then, I still think it's a win-win.
Oh yeah, it wouldn't be like the Rams lost it.
Well, no. But that's the thing is like that was the point he was making. He goes, just because someone won the trade, they can win it more doesn't mean someone lost it.
Yeah.
Like I would be of the camp. This is the camp I would be in. If the Rams or if the Lions won the Super Bowl this year, then the Rams won the trade more than the Rams did. And I don't think it's close. Because then you figure out of that trade, they both got a quarterback. They both got a quarterback that won the Super Bowl, and then the Lions also got Jahmyr Gibbs for however many years, Penei Sewell for however many years, Jameson Williams. Like I'm just saying, like if they won the Super Bowl.
I think that is probably the fairest trade of our generation.
I think that's the fairest trade of all time.
Well, I mean, it's probably. I mean, if you're going based off of like good trades, sure.
Well, yes. I mean,
some fair bad ones.
If you're talking about like two, like 7th round draft choices, like just getting swapped between teams, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking like heavy mover kind of deals.
Well, I'm just saying, like there's probably been some trades where it was kind of like more householdy names, but just not that big of names. Because the other thing too is like you have to remember, like like that. While yes, that was a big trade in regards to like Stafford being like one of the bigger like throwing quarterbacks type of thing. Like realistically, if you go back in time and you look at the trade, like all the draft picks are gambles. They always are, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
And then you traded a quarterback that was basically, like I don't know, 2 seasons away from being a free agent versus like an aging quarterback that had never won anything ever. Like I'm just saying, it's I think it's more heavyweighted now because like the Lions are good and like the Rams did win a playoff game, but like back then I don't really like remember when I seen the trade. I was like, oh, that's a big deal because it's 2 starting quarterbacks, but I wasn't like, oh, these are juggernauts that they're trading. I was just
No,
kind of like, I was
well,
just
it was
kind of
also
like,
a thing. I mean,
2 guys
Stafford
that
was
need a fresh
aging.
can of coat.
Stafford was aging, and I mean, Goff looked like he was done.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like Goff was like
So
at that point looked like he might have been 2 seasons away from being out of the league.
Goff was thrown into the deal to shed the money.
Yeah.
Like he was supposed to be like the bridge guy in Detroit, and just kind of like that was his, final shot. But hey, he turned it around.
Massey, I do think that you and the Ram or you and the Lions should play like a consolation football game in Cancun, just so that it can still be like Stafford getting his revenge tour that he hasn't had
That'd
any
be pretty
success on.
cool, but yeah, I do think we'd win the game if we played it today.
What is he 0-3 against the Lions?
1-2.
1-2. Okay.
We won 2 years ago.
Was he good in the game?
and-
What
Huh?
position were you playing, man?
Massey's the guy. Massey's the guy that recalibrates the Microsoft tablets after they get thrown.
Guys, I'll take that. I'll take that.
Are you kidding? If tablet gets thrown and it gets seen on TV, I'm selling that shit on eBay tomorrow.
I'll tell you what. I'd like to make a list of like all of my least favorite things I've seen from each team over the last 5 years. That's what I'm going to do this week. The Bears is just anything that they put on TV. That's just bad. I can tell you what the Rams one is, and I remember just like being like, "This isn't TV. Please stop airing this." And it was when they just kept every single game. They're like, "Oh, let's make sure we have a 5-minute segment on this guy whose job it is just to make sure McVay doesn't go on the field." And it's
Oh.
like,
Sideline coach.
and it's just like, yeah, we're showing like a buff guy with his polo shirt that's two sizes too small, tucked into his pants. This just looks like it's Sean McVay's gay lover. It doesn't look like it's somebody trying to
Yeah.
keep him off the field.
They love highlighting that guy.
Yeah, it was so. It's like this isn't news.
Fun fact: A, he's no longer with us. B, that was our assistant strength and conditioning coach. C, I'm pretty sure he's a convicted felon now.
Yeah, for raping Sean McVay.
Well,
But
no,
it's
not
just like-
him, but I believe underage women.
But it's just one of those things where it's like I'm just so like I understand the NFL is a multi-billion-dollar organization, and I understand that the American population is just hungry for anything NFL related that can possibly be published. But some of this stuff, like when you sent the article about the fucking Rams kid that was like was it Jared Verse that grew up in Pennsylvania?
One
That
that hates Philly.
Yeah, was he the one? Is that about him?
Yeah.
It was just like, oh, I grew up in Pennsylvania. I hate Philly. Like, that's not news. Like, it's just not like it was like someone published an article about like, don't sleep on fucking what's the Ravens offensive coordinator?
Tom Mockin.
Todd Moinkin.
Was that his name?
Yeah,
The-
Todd Moinkin or Monkin.
Munkin.
Todd M.
It was like, don't sleep on Todd Munkin being the next Chicago Bears head coach, despite all the Ben Johnson and Mike McCarthy news, given that he's from Chicago. It's like, that's not news. That's no one cares. That's not a thing. Like, it's like when Kyle says it about players, it's a little bit more relevant because it's like that makes a little bit more sense. Where it's like, oh, he'll be close to home. His parents live in, like when he talks about like, oh, well, he's from Cincinnati. Like, oh, okay, so his family lives there. Like, that could be a motivating factor. But like if you get the opportunity to coach an NFL team or whatever, like it's not like the Bears aren't hiring him because he's shit. This dude knows all about fucking Carson's rib house.
He loves the bean.
Like, let me tell you, hey Munkin, let me ask you a question. What would you do about Caleb Williams? Well, let me tell you. First thing we're gonna do is go to Lou Malnati's. Hire him.
Man, you know what's so funny? I was gonna make a Illuminati's joke.
and then he didn't.
That's good. It is funny because I always think of that, like when in any sport, when players are like free agents are like, well, he's gonna come home, and it's like, well,
But see, like the thing
I
is,
think
like
teams like if that lines up, but I don't think that's anywhere on their radar.
right, like for players, it makes more sense because players make the decision on where they're going to go in free agency. You know what I mean? But like at the same time, though, like the Chicago Bears or the Chicago Bulls, for example, let's say Anthony Davis becomes a free agent during this upcoming NBA offseason. The Bulls are not just going to be like, I mean, Anthony Davis, one time was in Cermak, Chinatown on a school field trip. We should probably make sure we offer him a deal. Like it's just like it drives me fucking, and it's not news.
It's cool when it works out, just because like it's entertaining. I get, but it's a non-point.
Right.
Yeah.
It is funny too, because like on paper, it's just such like a lesser candidate than everybody else available. It's just so random.
And that's like that's where like I wasn't trying to like Mass. I wanted you to know that I wasn't taking a shot at you sending it. It was just like I hate that in general, and it's like, and it was even more frustrating to read it because it's like, okay, he hates Philadelphia. Well, it's not like he grew up in fucking Montana where there's one team. There's literally 5 NFL teams within a fucking stone's throw, plus one on the other side of the state. Like, it was just like, who cares? And it's not Jared Verse's fault. It's that fucking reporter's fault. Fuck that person. Fuck them all. That's what I say. All right, here's my NFL question of the day. Are we ready?
Yes.
Now, this one is going to be interesting because it's going to give Kyle an opportunity to talk. Kyle, you ready?
Yeah,
Ask him about Fauci.
All right, so
he's
Kyle.
alright.
No, so I just have my question is, I totally understand the whole mantra around the questions around like Mike Tomlin, right? Like, and not trying to stir a pot up here. I'm just saying like we've had the conversations whether they're for razzles or for genuine questions. How long will the Steelers organization be okay with finishing above 500? Making the playoffs and getting bounced immediately, kind of thing. Like, when does that ship run its course, and et cetera, et cetera? So my question is, for all the people that ask that question, when is it appropriate to start asking the same question about John Harbaugh? Because
they have Lamar, so they'll never.
But that's
bad.
But see, that's the thing, though. I think having Lamar makes that question even more prevalent because you have what might be a 3-time MVP quarterback. You have what, like Massey and I were talking about earlier in the season, the only active running back that is, I mean, maybe not anymore. We'll see with Saquon, but like as of the start of this season, Derrick Henry was probably the only sure thing running back in the Hall of Fame, right, Mass? We were talking about that.
Yep.
Like you've always had good defenses. You've always had star-studded players. Your offensive line, you've had good offensive coordinators, good defensive coordinators. The only real difference is that you've maybe won a playoff game here and there, but other than that, it's not like the Ravens have been running away with the division. It's not like if Tomlin won the AFC North every single year and got bounced in the first round, I think it would be still concerning, but less concerning because he's winning the division. But it's not like Harbaugh's winning the division every year. The Bengals won it 2 years. The Steelers have won it recently. The Browns have been in the mix. It's not like the Ravens have been the fucking mid-2000s Patriots or the Kansas City Chiefs. So, at what point does Harbaugh start deserving the same criticisms?
The season.
Because that
should already have it.
Because like that's my whole thing. Like it's fair to ask those questions about Tomlin, but Ben's last like real good season was what, 2019? 20
Mhm.
No.
Yeah.
Was it 2019?
Yeah.
So you're looking at 5 straight seasons of subpar quarterback play. You're looking at 5 straight seasons of, decent offensive pieces, but no major top 20 people, no major household names for the average NFL fan. Good defensive pieces, but if anything, it's to me, I almost think that Harbaugh should be getting more of that criticism than Tomlin, because Tomlin like, while it's not enough, he's been continuously over the last few years doing a lot more with a lot less. I'm not saying Tomlin doesn't deserve it. I'm just saying I think it's time that Harbaugh thing, like Mash and I were talking about this the other day, like it's the same thing. After this playoff thing, it's time to really consider if Todd Bowles is the right guy for this team. And the answer is no, he's not. Now, they would have fired him already if they were going to, but like, I think that the John Harbaugh thing, I'm curious about how long that can go, because when they made the Super Bowl when they won it, right? That was the last time they were there, when they beat San Fran in 2012.
Mm-hmm.
So you're talking about the year that was the year after the Steelers' last Super Bowl appearance. Now, granted, it was a Super Bowl loss versus a win, but the Steelers also had 2 Super Bowls before that with Tomlin. Harbaugh had only had the 1 appearance. At least Tomlin's been 3 times. How many AFC title games did Tomlin go to? Did he lose any? Were there any AFC title games he lost?
Yeah, he lost to New England.
New England. A couple times.
Was the last one was the one with what's his name? The tight end. Was that the championship game? What was his name? Jesse.
Oh no, that was a regular season game.
Yeah, it was a regular season game.
The one where he stretched out at the goal line and they called him short even though he wasn't.
That was big because it was like the end of the year, and I think the Steelers needed that win for something.
It was a seeding thing, but it was a regular season game. That was a regular season game. I don't know. I mean, we don't. I mean,
my biggest thing with the whole Tomlin thing is the last, you could say 3 or 4 years, right? How many times have people written off the Steelers?
Several.
They're not going to make the playoffs. They're not going to do this. They're not that good. But with Kenny Pickett, with Russell and Justin Fields and shit like that, he found a way to get there. And there was no way the Steelers were going to win anything in the last 4 or 5 years because they didn't have a competent offense. They were better this year, absolutely. But there's still a lot of holes on that offense. I said it all year. Their wide receivers can't get open. And when George Pickens went down for those 3 to 4 games, you saw it. And that started the whole fucking downhill spiral. The wide receivers can't get open. One of the running backs can't run to the outside, but the offensive coordinator kept saying, "Hey, let's do the pitch to Harris." That doesn't make any fucking sense.
Well,
I did see a thing, and it, again, not digging out, but it was a someone was looking at like the past few, I forget how many years they went back, but it was showing how like the Steelers almost always in like the last third of the season just fall off hard.
Because they don't have a competent offense.
So then I mean,
it's not just on Tomlin; it's on the GM too.
That's what I was just gonna ask.
So I mean, they spent all this money on the defense, and in the first half of the season, the defense is on the field 65 to 70% of the game because the offense can't move the ball.
Dude, same.
At some point, they're gonna fucking start to fall off and get tired.
Wait, you guys play offense?
Not really. But you know what I'm saying? Like, at some point, they're going to get exposed because they're on the field the entire fucking game. Like, even in that Raven game, yes, they gave up 3 touchdowns in the first half. But they only gave up 7 in the second, but their offense couldn't move the ball at all to even, you know what I'm saying?
Well, the optics of it is so big. And, like, the result is the same no matter how you put it, but it just feels different. Like, of these past couple years, Pittsburgh has, like, they find themselves at 10-3 in a division lead, and then they lose, these games down the stretch. But it feels different when, like, they're sitting at 7-7, and they rally to just make the playoff. They still finish 10-7 on the year, but it's more glaring when it happens this way, and that's why I think so much like light is shed on Tomlin.
And this year I think is different because you put you have 6 division games plus the Chiefs plus the Eagles. AFC North football is very physical and shit like that. They played well against the AFC North, and they just faltered towards the end because that was a daunting second half of the schedule. And that was not an excuse. It's just what happened.
So I just found that thing that I saw, and it was just it was from like a Steelers Twitter page. It shows in 2018 they started 7-2-1, ended 9-6-1. 2019 they started 8-5 and finished 8-8. 2020 they started 11-0, finished 12-5. 23 they started 7-4, ended 10-8. And then this year they started 10-3 and ended 10-8.
Yeah. A lot of it has to do with not having a fucking offense. Even those later years, Ben wasn't Ben. Ben was throwing fucking screen passes. The big part of Ben's game was throwing the ball downfield, which he couldn't do anymore.
Well, and the other thing too is like with the NFL season is your offense. Like this is just the way that like from years of my experience watching football, not just the Bears, but in general, it's like your offense is supposed to get better as the year goes on, and you're like obviously injuries can affect everything, but your offense is supposed to get better because it's consistently fine tuning everything and learning what works and what doesn't and gets better. Your defense traditionally gets worse because people get it's just tired. It's a lot more physically exhausting playing defense than it is playing offense, and and that's why in the playoffs you tend to see those defensive dominant teams and those really strong run teams succeed so well because it's exhausting trying to stop people all game long.
For example, yesterday, the Ravens were ranked number 1 in offense, number 1 against the run and defense. I think the Bills ran all over them in that entire fucking game. James Cook had a fucking day. They were getting 5-6 yards a clip.
The backup guy was getting fucking some big runs too.
Like the Ravens are the same thing. Like Lamar doesn't make mistakes in the regular season, but he made 2 very big mistakes yesterday, especially where he was trying to do too much and just fumbled. Which led to a Bills touchdown.
Well, I think the thing too is I think that the Ravens did something similar to like what the Lions did, which was like they got away from their strengths, which was Derrick Henry and Jahmyr Gibbs. Like they Like they just started throwing too much.
And the Steelers are a team that wants to run the ball, but they can't because they don't have the running backs to do it. And we don't have the receivers to get open. So the offense wasn't good enough. So this year I don't blame Tomlin.
So then they need a new GM then? Is that where we're kind of?
The Steelers, they just need to spend money on offense. They always spend money on defense.
The thing is, and I think Kyle would agree, that I think our last good offensive coordinator was Bruce Arians, which that dates back to like before 2018, and they haven't
even say Todd Haley. Todd Haley was fine too.
Well, Kyle kind of hit the nail on the head too a little bit, which is like traditionally we make the joke all the time, the linebacker joke, but it's like the Steelers do one of 3 things in the first 3 rounds. They either draft a linebacker, a corner, or an offensive lineman. And then all of the
last year.
Every once in a while they throw a splash in the Najee Harris thing or the Pickens thing or whatever, but traditionally the household names come from one of those 3 positions, and then all of their splash plays come from great scouting in the later rounds. And they've drafted some really good late round offensive pieces over the years, and in free agency they go after linebackers and edge rushers and offensive linemen, and they don't go after these guys. And whether it's the GM looking at it from this is the way the Steelers do business or whatever, if it's just I don't know, but I mean all of their high value stuff gets spent on those guys.
I'll never get mad for a team drafting an offensive lineman. You know what I'm saying? This year we drafted 3 of them. Why couldn't we pick Brian Thomas instead of the offensive tackle in the first round? But we had a glaring need at wide receiver. And we still would have gotten the center, and we still would have gotten the guard in the 2nd and 4th round.
Yeah.
Brian Thomas proved to be a fucking He was disgusting. There's no reason why we couldn't draft him.
I don't
We
think
drafted an offensive tackle. Again, not going to get mad about it. He didn't play this year, so we don't know how good he's going to be. But
I don't know.
You
I,
wanna
The thing
Bill-
that sucks about drafting offensive linemen, and we've said on, it's not the sexy pick.
no, but it was the right pick.
No, I agree, and it's the same like pretty much anywhere. But I'm saying, you don't hear the offensive lineman's name on game, like, you know what I mean? Like
Which is a
you
good
don't
thing.
hear about them.
The more you hear about them, the worse they are.
Yeah, yeah.
So here, I'll
But
kind of
it's a
give
good
this.
thing.
I'm going to kind of give this little like synopsis here, and you guys can, about the John Harbaugh type thing. The question I had. So since 2010, so the last 15 seasons, the Ravens have finished. They've won the North 6 times.
Oh, we didn't do a
And-
close to silence.
Well, you're going to be silenced if you keep interrupting me.
Sorry, it just came up on the TV.
No, we'll do it after. Since 2010, the Ravens have been to a Super Bowl and won it. They've won the AFC North 6 times. They finished last in the AFC North once. They've had 2 sub 500 records, and they've missed the playoffs 5 times, and then they've lost in the first round of the playoffs 3 times, including the 2019 season, which, I mean, first round is first round. You weight it however you want. Their first round of the playoffs, which included that 28-12 blowout by the Titans,
Mhm.
and when they were first in the entire AFC. And in that same time frame, they've also had a Defensive Player of the Year award in Terrell Suggs, 2-time MVP award, a Head Coach of the Year, and Assistant Coach of the Year. For the Steelers since 2010, they've been to 2 Super Bowls, won 1. They've won the AFC North 5 times. They've never come in last. They haven't had any sub 500 records. They've had a few 500 records. They missed the playoffs 3, 4, 5 times, and they were eliminated their first game 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times. All of them wild card
Yeah.
losses, and in that mix, they've had 2 Defensive Player of the Years, no MVPs, no coaches, no Coach of the Years. So, I mean, the first round playoff exits are definitely, obviously, not in favor of Tomlin's argument, but everything else is kind of chalk with, I don't want to say better players, but more accolades at least. Whether it's, Coach of the Year and MVPs and whatnot.
Yeah, it is interesting that when it comes up, it's always about Lamar not winning the big game, not Harbaugh being able to get them over the hump. And it's interesting that kind of is an overlooked point.
Certain things are talked about and certain things are pushed aside. Forever, Tom will be talked about. But let me tell you something. If Tom gets put on the if Tom or Harbaugh gets put on the market, they're gone within minutes. They'll have a head coach as soon as as they're able to.
Well, Paul. Right before you came on, I was telling Kyle and Kendall about it's a serious show, I guess, but it was kind of a joke thing saying that Tomlin should be fired because he's too good of a coach, and the Steelers are just kind of middling because he just keeps winning games when they're like, the front office is building a team to lose, and fucking Tomlin keeps winning.
Well, it's definitely tough because the Steelers
Did I miss
have
a
kind
Rich Eisen segment today?
I'm sorry.
Did I miss a Rich Eisen segment today? Because that sounds very Rich Eisen-ish.
I forget the show. It was something I saw on like a. It's funny because my phone, our phones listen to us, so it just hears and it sees me just typing in nonsense to Kyle about the Steelers. So I get, the things pop up and it's like, hey, you talk about this, you'll want to read it. And I was laughing because it was literally just like, this guy is killing us here because he keeps winning these fucking games. So they can never draft a quarterback.
I mean, you know what? Like, as a fan, like, I don't want them to have a losing season.
Listen, we've said on the show, I'll never root for the tank. But it was just a funny thing.
But, like as a Giant fan, right? Dayball gets fired. And the Steelers finally decide to move on. Are you going to tell me that you're not like, oh, Mike Tomlin's
No,
my number one?
Listen, Tomlin's a good coach. I just think, like, I think there's too much tied into, like, it's awesome that he's never had a losing record.
But it's like, it's not even all about that. It's just like,
but that's the first thing, like,
the team plays for him.
Yes, but that's always the first thing that's brought is for which is a huge. I mean, I can't. Other than, actually, I mean, I can't even think of another coach off the top of my head like that's had the longevity that can say that. I mean, like, has Andy Reid's had losing seasons? No, he had to have at some point.
Yeah.
Let's see.
I mean, because the Eagles kind of sucked, like, towards his end there. I mean, Belichick has had losing. So, you know what I mean? So, like, be able to say you've never had a losing season as a head coach, that's...
His first season was a losing season.
Who's that?
Andy Reid.
With the Eagles?
Yep. 1-5, lost 11.
Oh. I mean, granted, Tomlin didn't come into the typical gig
No,
where...
he was given a good roster.
That's what I mean. Like, typically, if you're a new head coach, you're walking into a team that wasn't good because there's a reason why they fired their coach.
They just, Tower retired and they needed a coach.
And again, you can't hold that against him because that's out of his control. But that's just a different thing where, like we said, usually if you're the number one pick quarterback, you're going to a shit team.
Yeah.
Typically, you know what I mean? Like, so it's hard to have that immediate impact. And it's the same for a coach. If a team fires their coach, more often than not, they weren't that good.
Yeah.
I mean, to never dip below or finish below 500, that is impressive.
Yeah. I mean, the Steelers fans calling for him to be fired are foolish because, like, you're playing meaningful games in December every year. And without looking this up, I think there has not been a time before the last game of the year that they've been eliminated. Like, it's come down to, they needed help to get into the playoffs for X, Y, and Z reason. I mean, I could just be making that up, but I don't remember a time like in week 14 and they've been eliminated from the playoffs. So, and that says something.
There's always a chance. And luckily enough, a lot of the times it usually works out for us.
Yeah.
Like, one year we needed like 3 things to happen, and it happened. Just kind of funny.
Yeah.
Usually we need the Colts to lose, and it usually happens.
So it's the same teams in the mix.
Like, it's usually like we need the Jaguars to beat the Colts, and it happens.
Yeah.
I do remember that time. I think it was the Chiefs. It may have been Cairo Santos. You guys needed him to like make a field goal.
It was
and
Ryan
he
Suckup.
fucking who was it? Suck up. That's who it was.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he fucking shanks it.
I was just so mad about that because like we needed like 6 things to happen that day, and every one of them happened except.
Yep.
And it was like a 30-yarder.
That was like the one. I'd watched the game with you, Kyle, and it was like the only time I ever watched it at. I think it was at Chris Jankowski's house. Do you remember that? it was like
something like that.
it was a real random place to be watching the game, and I don't know why we were there. It just sort of happened, and it's like they lose or they don't get in, and it's like, well, now what? It's like, I don't want to be here.
I was just so mad because everything worked out except Ryan's suck-up's last-second field goal.
Yep.
It was against the Chargers.
Yeah. Oh well, it's funny. It'll be another off season of this type of talk, and I don't know. I think I don't think Chuck Noll was fired. I think he walked
He
away.
retired.
Yeah, and he throughout the '80s didn't have a ton of success.
And then they hired Cower.
Yep, Cower, kind of a similar arc to Tomlin in a way. Like they went to a Super Bowl early. They didn't win it, but he had a lot of times where they were making the playoffs, or he definitely had some losing seasons. I can't remember without looking it up. I can't remember, but
He did because the Steelers ended up with the 11th pick.
yeah. So the way I see it, like Tomlin's never gonna get fired. He's gonna just walk away. Like the way the relationship is, he's just gonna call it quits when he's done. And as of right now, I don't think he's done.
He doesn't want to leave the Steelers. He's been there for what? 18 years, right? Mass, am I right?
Think so. Well, since
Tomlin?
2007.
That's his home. Why would he want to leave home?
Allen has been head coach for 16 seasons.
16?
18 seasons. Sorry.
18?
Dude, can't even
People
read.
forget about that shit too. Like,
It was
Well,
tier
okay.
reports. One was 2 years old.
his kids are fucking grew up there. His family's there. His wife has a business there.
Yeah. I think
So it's like, why?
go ahead.
Why would you want to leave?
Right. The problems in Pittsburgh are way below the surface. Coordinators got to be better. I think they got to be more aggressive in how they build rosters. And, just you can't just settle for this is the way we do things, same old Pittsburgh's. It's evident that since 2017 or whatever, whenever they last won a playoff game, it's just they're kind of spinning their tires.
The defense is paid. Now
That's
it's
where I
time to
think
pay the
people,
offense.
at least from the outside looking in, I think is ridiculous. Is that it's like, well, this is just how we do things, and it's not just the Steelers, but I mean, there's a ton of teams like this. And it's like, all right, well, it's not working right now. Like, all right, you guys are kind of in the middle, speaking about this, but like, do something different.
Yeah.
Like, there needs to be that. I hate when you hear that about, and they're like, oh no, I mean, this is what we do. It's like, well, do more
Yeah.
or do something different. Like,
In
That's
the
a receiver in the first round.
Well, I was gonna say, in the time I've watched football, when they traded for Minka Fitzpatrick, that was like the most shocking thing I've ever seen a Steelers team do, because they don't do that. And at this stage of the game, I mean, not a ton to show for it. I mean, he's been a great player, but it was unheard of.
The last time the Steelers drafted a wide receiver in the first round was Santonio Holmes.
Hey, that guy's a
That's
Super Bowl
over
MVP.
That's 15 years ago.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, that's insane. Like, the year that we took Terrell Evans, we fucking reached.
so that was another thing that the clip that I saw was talking about, is that like in the first round they don't do great. And it said it was like 2018 was Terrell Edmonds, like 5th-year option declined. 2019 was when they traded up for Devin Bush, 5th-year option decline. 2020 was a trade for Minka, so they didn't have a first rounder. 21 was Najee Harris, 5th-year option declined. 22, Kenny Pickett traded after 2 years. So that's going back the last. Well, it doesn't show the 23 and 24, but So that's 5
Oh.
straight like first rounds of.
Let's see, 23 was who they drafted in the first round last year. Well, they drafted Troy Fontenot last year. The year before that was
So
I can't even fucking remember.
the thing about that's so weird, and I guess everyone's entitled to their opinion on this. Like all those guys, they went on to become starters on other teams. So it's not like they had this drastic fall off. Like the Steelers really just whiffed on these guys. Just for one reason or another, they kind of like we don't want to continue with these players, and foreseeably it's going to happen with Najee, and he was the first running back to go that draft. It was just kind of circumstantial. Whatever position they drafted in, I don't know, we'll call it 27th for argument's sake. Like it was a guy that everyone projected him to go there, and it was circumstantial because they needed a running back. This was the post Le'Veon Bell era, and it was one of those things that we knew was going to happen. And there's enough, I think, evidence, or you could make an argument that.
By the way.
What was that?
24th.
24, sure. That it's worthwhile to keep him because he hasn't been that bad. He's been fine. That's just it. There's really, he's just been consistent. It's just he has not been.
He's not a flashy guy.
Right. So like I don't feel that they've missed on these players. It's like they have just moved on.
Well, Najee, I think they declined just to be like, hey, let's have a good season. Give him some fucking motivation.
Prove it.
Teams don't do that with that because the 5th year you get him another year cheap.
You never know. Like
I'm gonna disagree with you. I don't see why, because that doesn't make sense for the team to do that.
Well, it's also the way that they fucking use them.
But I'm just saying, like team wise, it doesn't make sense for them to be like, hey, we have to make a decision on your 5th year option and your 4th year. Use it as motivation. I don't see any. That's the team's way to get you cheap for one more year.
True.
That's just my. I mean, not even just him specific, but just in general. I mean, if that's where I think they're saying the Steelers are kind of missing on is that they're not even keeping him for that last cheap season.
Yeah, I mean,
and it's not guys walking at the. It's, they're making the decision to not.
Wait, who knows? It could be a cap situation. I have no idea.
Yeah, it could be.
Cap situation for what?
Like the reason why they decided not to bring back Najee.
Not
Dude,
bringing
I think
back who?
Najee Harris.
Well, let's see.
I know right now they're like middle. They're like 16th in cap going into the offseason.
You have $40 million.
Which is fine.
Right. It's one of those things, and I think everyone in this room would agree that for the Najee argument that there's a billion other running backs can do exactly what he has done. And I think that plays
Maybe a
into
little
it.
bit.
How much?
Honestly, man, Najee would be a good fit for the Rams.
Nope.
Just the extra yards. And doesn't fumble.
Nope.
Right. That's the only thing he's got going for him is he doesn't fumble the football.
I mean,
I want a dynamic back.
every team could
I
use a
want Todd
nod.
Gurley back. I want Todd Gurley's legs fixed.
Well, now he's
The
like
Giants.
36.
The Giants could
He's
use
not even
Najee.
30, I don't think.
No, he's not. He's like, if he is, he's like 30, 31.
I was like, no
He
way,
just
Gurley's
turned
not 30
30.
yet. Did he really?
No.
He just turned 30. He turned 30 in August.
He's actually on our show. He just never talks.
What happened to Paul?
Oh, he had to jump. He texted me. So he said may or may not be back. So we'll just we're gonna carry on.
Hey, Kyle, you know who's a terrible wrestler?
Nia Jax.
Yeah,
Yeah, no.
she sucks.
Yeah, she's a little clunky in the ring. Hurts a lot of
Did
people.
did you guys see the clip? I think it was from back when they had like the War Games thing when she was doing the chair shots. And she looked like Hogan in the 90s. He was
Yeah.
the worst.
And every week, they get more and more attracted to this bitch.
I like how he says it like just under his breath.
Mm-hmm.
That's funny.
I tell you, it is funny because we were kind of talking about the NFL draft, but like, remember when? What year is this? Like the 2021 draft was supposed to be like the year of the quarterback, and only one guy's on the same team from the first round.
Yeah.
That's Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance.
But they nailed
Fields.
it. Kenny Pickett's here. They said it was not a good quarterback class.
Mac Jones.
Mac Jones. Is that it in the first round? That's it in the first round.
It's funny that two of those guys are on the same team now. It's like, hey, remember the draft? What a night.
Ooh, Kyle Trask was a third rounder.
He
Isn't that the
has
guy
no
that got
play.
like a DUI on his way to the field or something?
If that's the case, that's hilarious.
I remember that happening to somebody. I feel like it was him, but I could be
It
wrong.
was Henry Ruggs.
Didn't know Amon-Ra St. Brown was a fourth rounder.
Yep.
So
Now, I know Paul stepped away, but there was another. I saw like some other thing. It was some like sports podcast that popped up on Instagram, and they were like ripping on the Bears drafting, and like how they totally whiffed on not drafting Mahomes when they could have, and then it was saying that how they should have drafted Jaden Daniels over Caleb Williams, and it's like, well,
Fuck off.
that's so stupid because I'm sorry. Like Jaden Daniels had a great season. There's no way around it. He looks, he's looking the part.
But Caleb was the number one guy.
But Caleb was the 101
Everybody would have
for
for
months.
doing that
yeah.
for
And-
years.
But even still, like when Mahomes was drafted, he was not the prize of that draft.
No.
Like he was supposed to be decent. He was like a maybe first rounder, and the Chiefs got ripped apart for trading up for him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so, of course, yeah, if you want to look back on it after he's won 3 Super Bowls, like, oh my God, how did we not get. Well, yeah, but, I mean, what the fuck?
All I'm reminded of every year is that these so-called draft experts know nothing.
Yeah.
Braden
I'm telling you,
Fisk was
we could do
the-
it. We could do it. You just say nonsense, you say whatever you want, and then literally, as soon as the draft ends, anything you said doesn't matter.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we got torn apart for trading up for Braden Fisk in the second round this year because we had to give up a second rounder this year to do it. And
I tell
the
you,
kid is second or third in rookie of the year, defensive rookie of the year voting.
It's just,
yeah.
some of the things are just so dumb. And really, I look at it, and I've said this before, is Tom Brady was drafted in the 6th round. So, like, should every team be like, I can't believe we missed this fucking guy. Like, what are we doing?
People look at the tangibles too much instead of like the actual football player. Like, people
It's-
are worried about how fast they can run and shit like that, but they don't ever look at like if they can run a fucking route, aka
Draft
John
picks-
Ross.
Draft picks are a 100% dart throw. I don't care how good the
Oh,
kid
yeah.
played in college. It's a complete dart throw on if they're going to mesh with the system you have in place, the coaches, the stat. Like, anybody. Like,
Hey,
I'm sure,
John Ross, right?
well,
He only got
yeah,
drafted for speed, and
combine.
everybody knows that.
But really, so like Jaden Daniels is going to be the offensive rookie of the year this year. More than, I mean, right?
Foreseeably.
So I mean, he has this great season with the command. If he's drafted to the Raiders,
No shot he has the same season.
but that's the thing. It's not to say no shot, but like, who knows? Because it's a completely different like. So it's just all a roll of the dice.
Uh-huh.
I know we talked about a few weeks where like it's all timing. If the timing works out to where you have the right staff and coaching and everything in place for when certain guys show up, it's where you find the magic. The Patriots did forever where Brady and Belichick was just perfect timing.
Tomlin and Ben.
I'm sorry?
Tomlin and Ben. Eli and Coughlin. You got to have a good coach in order to be
But
successful.
you have to have the right coach.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean.
You have to have the right coach. I look at even now with the Chiefs. I think Andy Reid was the perfect coach to come into the Chiefs. I mean, I know he had Alex Smith to start, but I think he's been a great coach with Mahomes there. Just because I think their personalities match. I don't think Andy Reid is an overly serious guy. I don't know how Mahomes would handle having a Tomlin, who's a little more hard nosed. It may not work.
Andy
Yeah.
Reid just can coach black quarterbacks. He had Donovan McNabb.
Mahomes is a halfie though.
Yeah. But McNabb was whatever.
But you know what? I just think it's more timing and chemistry than here's the best coach and here's the best guy. Because I'm sorry, Belichick's probably the best coach of all time, but when he lost his guy, they sucked.
Yeah.
So it's just draft picks. Of course, you're drafting on you're just betting, and of course there's some guys that are safer bets, but
Also, to go back to what Paul was saying about Todd Bowles, yeah, the dude should be fired.
well, I guess fuck me then, huh?
Well, I'm sorry. I forgot about that. I wanted to say this earlier. The guy is a defensive-minded coach, and in defense was dog water. Fuck
Yeah, that's one of those things where I think Baker is keeping him alive, and they just shouldn't.
But Mock's a big Todd Bowles guy, so.
Really couldn't care less about that guy.
Perfect example. Great coordinator, bad head coach. So add him to the list.
Hey, Massey.
He had to step
Step
away
away.
for a second.
Oh, hey, Mock.
Yeah,
Who's taking the Jets job?
I mean, I got to imagine there's going to be a bunch of guys in a room, and they're going to get a real big game of
Duck, duck, goose.
I was gonna say, what was that? What was the thing from back in the day? Almost like an eeny, meeny, miny, mo, the skunk in the barnyard type deal.
Mm.
And it's gonna be real high stakes.
Fish.
The Jets might be the most undesirable job in the NFL.
But they have a lot of good pieces.
Well, they have some good pieces.
And they have a good defense, if coached right.
They have defensive, and Gary Wilson's there, but he's gonna want out more than likely. Breece Hall is fine. But you know what outweighs all of that?
Woody Johnson.
They have a terrible fucking owner.
Yep. And
You
that's
have an
just
owner that comes in the locker room and tells his players that they suck.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Could you imagine a decrepit man coming in, and just because he owns the team, he's I get to talk to you however I want. It's just the most outrageous thing.
I really think with the way New York media is, and a bad owner, I think that has got to be the most undesirable
Yeah.
job in the
So-
NFL.
So there's one guy to take it.
Mike Tomlin.
No.
They're gonna trade for him.
Rex fine.
He's already out.
They said no.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they said they were not advancing conversations with him or something.
So allegedly, this is the week where the second interviews are happening for anyone they want to talk to. And I don't know who's on that list, but I think for the Jets, it has to be someone who was a head coach before. I don't think a first-timer is going to survive in that city, in that market.
Well, it looks like Robert Saleh is going to the Raiders.
And I don't know. It's got to be we talk about this all the time, the leader of men, blah blah blah. Vrabel would have been a good fit there, but there's no shot once he became a target. New England was going to let they were not going to let that happen. It just wasn't going to happen. I do agree that I think there's merit to the Rex Ryan going there, but I think what Mock said is true. I don't think he interviewed that well.
This is Aaron Glenn.
So the tie-in there is because he played for the Jets. I think he could fit that bill as a leader of men, but I think the flip side is he'll be a first-time head coach, and I don't know if he's going to want to get
Pete Carroll.
No, Pete Carroll. He was the head coach of the Jets at one point. I don't know, it's Aaron Glenn. I think could be successful. I would be hesitant to have a first-time head coach come do that in New York. Go be a first-timer out in Tampa Bay or in.
It's one of those. I don't know when the owners are going to learn. You're not football people. You're a rich guy that bought a team. That's awesome, but
Stop meddling.
These guys don't do anything, especially like buying to not have like a return on investment. You pay these people to do football things. Just let them fucking do it. Like sit in your box, enjoy it, go nuts.
Yeah.
Just stop telling them what. Like you're not the guy to tell them. I mean, and I laugh. Like we've joked about Jerry Jones forever. And he said a thing a couple weeks ago that I thought was funny, but it's also stupid. Like, someone asked him, like, would he ever give up the GM duty? And he was just like, well, no, I bought the team.
Yeah, I saw that.
And it's like, that's funny, but that's stupid.
Right. It also doesn't make any
you're
sense.
You're an oil guy. Like, your family's from oil. Like, what makes you think you're qualified to run a football team just because you bought it? It's fucking stupid. I mean, these owners just, and the same with with John Mara, just back up. You're. I think he was like what the hell was John Mara? Like a lawyer or whatever the hell he was. You're not a football guy. Just sit in your box and let the football people do football things.
Yeah, that's just it. And I mean, I think Paul just got back, and he's told us again and again the McCaskey's involvement, and just like I don't. And the thing is, the worst part is these guys, they won't sell the team, even though your fan base hates you. They get more bitter, and they grip on tighter.
Well, I mean, it's one of those where they're making money. They don't care if the fans hate that. Like, what does that matter? They're making like Jerry Jones is making money.
Oh yeah.
Woody Johnson making money. So they're not going to sell the team because the fans are, what? Just take a step back and let the people that you're paying do what you're paying them to do. That's where I just get frustrated. Is that, I mean, it's funny to me that the Cowboys are what they are because I don't like them, but the Giants are now doing it too. Just stop. Just stop. Look at what Robert Kraft did for 20 years. He sat and got blackout drunk in his box every week and just let the football people do football things.
And so it's like,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, it's funny because it's the same problem, but across, different levels. So, the owner, you're talking about the Giants owner, right?
Well, we were talking about the Jets being the most undesirable job in the NFL.
Yeah, so you have the problem is you have certain it's the same problem but from different methods. Woody Johnson insists on being, and Jerry Jones, they insist on being involved in personnel and involved in all these things, and then you have the McCaskeys. It's funny, George McCaskey on the surface looks like a one-of-one style owner. He go every single home game, he parks in the parking lot with the fans, and he walks through the tailgating to get to the stadium to go up to his owner's box. Mm-hmm. And he interacts with the fans. That's not something you would ever see any fucking owner do, especially in a major market. and he doesn't. He you know, every NFL or every Chicago Bears exec person and commentator and analyst will tell you the same thing, that like McCaskey's not part of the situation with like drafting or like trading. Like McCaskey was doing volunteer work umping a little league game in like mid-state Illinois when one of the like dads of one of the players on one of the teams came up to him and was like, "Hey, did you know, like, how long ago did you know the Bears were trading the number one pick to Carolina?" And he goes, "When did we do that?" And he goes, "Just now." He goes, "Well, didn't know that." Like, he has nothing to do with personnel. The problem is that the McCaskeys, ever since the Mike Ditka era, do not want a large personality in the room. They don't want somebody in the room that's bigger than the logo. And traditionally, most teams don't hire people that are bigger than the logo. Now, obviously, if an NFL team were to hire a Bill Belichick, that would be different. But it's the reason why I always had skepticism against the Bears hiring Mike McCarthy. You know, Mike McCarthy, I'm not going to say he's bigger than the Bears logo, but that's a personality that is very large in the room and would be a headlined type situation that would be bigger than the McCaskies. You know, it's the reason why the Bears have only ever hired one NFL head coach with head coaching experience in 110 years of football operations, and that was John Fox, who at the time was a spiraling head coach, kind of like a outside the box name. But like the Jim Harbaugh, Sean Payton, like these were all guys that were never ever going to be on the radar. Ben Johnson's a huge name, but he's a coordinator, so there's no chops in the head coaching game. So it's funny how like these owners can be meddlesome, but they don't have to be meddlesome in the same way.
Yeah, it's fun. We were talking about this at work last week. I said, when do you ever see like the Hunt family that owns the Chiefs? You hear about them twice a year, and it's when they're holding up an AFC championship and then a fucking Super Bowl trophy. That's when you see the rest of the time, they're gone.
Right.
It's
I mean,
just
like a lot of teams are like that. I mean, the Rooneys don't get involved
Yeah.
with the Steelers operations. You know, the Ravens owners don't get involved. You don't you don't see like even franchises that are, you know, notoriously hated, like the Philadelphia Eagles. Like they just let the GM and the head coach do everything. And like look at the GM. Everybody thought that the Eagles were going to take this massive step back, losing Kelsey and uh was it Lane Johnson?
no, he's still
No,
there.
no. Who do they
Fletcher
lose?
Cox.
Fletcher Cox, or whatever, like, and then they he went out and he got people that were replaced them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they let the football guys make football decisions. The problem is that like for teams like the Jets and the Cowboys, they don't let the football people make football decisions.
Yeah.
And in the Bears situation, they they want to bring in the football decision makers. They let them make the football decisions, but they want to bring in people that fit in the golf foursome better than they fit in the coaching circle. They want guys that aren't going to push back. They want guys that are going to let them run the team, like run the ownership aspect of the team the way they want to, whether it's disbursement of money, because that's the one thing in the NFL you see it, like we talked about with baseball, with like the deferred money, and like, you know, like Cohen, like, you know, coming out and saying it's basically like a public service to, you know, sign these players and try to put a competitive team on the field every year because you're doing it for the city, you're doing it for the fans.
Yep.
It's funny because like in football with the cap and the floor and everything like that, like you don't really there's not really like a narrative so much about like teams who don't spend. It's traditionally more teams that spend the wrong way and teams that spend the right way. You know, like the Jaguars spend more money than anybody. They just traditionally spend it on the wrong people.
Yeah.
You know, like, but so everybody spends, but there's different ways that you can spend. So, like the Chicago Bears, for example, are notoriously a cheap organization because what do? They go out and they sign players to these big contracts, but the contracts are entirely cap hit, not signing bonuses. So the McCaskies aren't actually shelling any money out of their pockets. It's just cap money. And that's why the Bears always have this dead cap number that's always all over them, because they cut players and they trade them, and it's all cap hits, but it's never, if you go look at it, it's never signing bonus stuff. The Bears are traditionally a team that don't give out big signing bonuses. And that's another example of how you're as an owner, you are telling your GM this is the way, and your president of football ops, that like these are the way that we want these contracts done. Well, you're handcuffing the football people into their football decisions by doing that. So like they're not directly affecting the people making the football decisions. Like they're not getting involved in the football decisions, but they're still affecting them. There have been players that don't come to the Bears because they don't, oh yeah, the money that they're offering me is what I want, but I want it in signing bonuses.
Right.
They don't want a cap thing because signing bonuses are more.
Oh, you're still there?
I'll say I don't know if it was him or me.
Paul, you still there? Oh, it sounds like it dropped. But yeah, I know it's they're the teams up your back. Perfect.
I never left. Just because you couldn't hear me didn't mean I wasn't here.
Well, fine.
Is that how you're gonna treat me when I'm dead? Oh, he's not here anymore. Move on. Got Mike K waiting in the wings. But it's just, it's a problem. You have teams who, teams that shell out more signing bonuses are usually more attractive to big free agents. Signing bonuses not only constitute more money, or more guaranteed money usually, but it also shows a commitment, because as from signing bonuses, you're putting, basically owner funds into the player versus cap funds.
Right.
Because the signing bonuses hit the cap differently and can be restructured and turned into cash and things like that. So, yeah, I mean, this Ben Johnson, news today, like supposedly the Bears are going to be hiring Ben Johnson. We'll see. Unfortunately the what's his face there from the Patriots has forever caused fan bases to hold their breath when getting news about Josh McDaniels about hearing that their team is close to finalizing a deal. You're like, well, let's let the ink dry on that. But the question, there's all these questions out there. Like, is Ben Johnson actually the head coach everybody thinks he is? He's is it more Brad Holmes and what's his face there, the head coach Dan Campbell, or is it is Ben Johnson just as much a part of it? Can he do it without the same high level of personnel that he had in Detroit? Those are all valid questions. The question I have is ownership going to let him do what he wants to do? That's the big question, because that's the question that matters. If ownership doesn't get out of the way.
I think one of the bigger things to look at is that they didn't overthink it this year and try to get cute about it. They're like, this is the one that makes the most sense. Book it, let's do it.
I mean, yeah, the thing, from a Bears fan standpoint, if you're talking about Chicago football versus the way things are normally done, and this is, not just to hone in on Chicago, but it's just how some teams need to operate in general. The Bears, are showing signs of changing the way that they think at the ownership and high corporate level, because a few short years ago when they hired Matt Eberflus, they also interviewed Dan Quinn for the head coaching job, and they made the decision that it was either going to be Dan Quinn, Matt Eberflus, or somebody else, to be the head coach of the Chicago Bears, and then they hired Ryan Poles. What team does that? Who does that? How does that make any fucking sense? That'd be like if Mock's job was just like, okay, hey, we hired the third tier boss, and then we're going to tell the third tier boss, or no, we picked 3 third tier bosses, and then we're going to hire the first tier boss and go, hey, you have to hire one of these guys. Like, how does that make any sense? It just doesn't. You don't hire somebody like that and then be like, okay, we already picked this guy for you.
Right. Enjoy.
Right. It's stupid. But when they interviewed Dan Quinn's the Redskins coach, right?
Yes.
Yeah. When they interviewed Dan Quinn, nope. And actually, I think they're going back. I saw something about that they might be going back. That'd be awesome. All those people that burned their jerseys. But when they brought Dan Quinn in for the interview, they brought him in on a coach flight, and he sat in the back of the plane in a middle row between 2 other passengers. That was how he was brought to the city to interview for a head coaching position. That's absurd.
Yeah.
That is baffling. And then they had a private, car pick him up from O'Hare Airport. Are you kidding me? You're a multi-billion-dollar organization, one of the faces of the NFL in terms of its historical standpoint, and that's how you run business. But this year, like McCarthy, they flew him in on a private jet. They put him up in a nice hotel for him to, when he's wanted, because he spend the night. They had, they picked him up at the airport, Ryan Poles and Kevin Warren. They did these things, and the Ben Johnson thing, that shows that they're shopping at the top shelf, and they, Mike Vrabel, I don't think was ever really an available option, but like Mike McCarthy would be considered a top shelf coaching candidate this coaching cycle. Ben Johnson, like these are top shelf guys. The Bears don't traditionally shop at the top shelf for anything. So it's a signal that they're changing things up. We'll see. There's a lot more that they need to do. Kevin Moore and Ryan Poles and Mike McCaskey all in succession the McCaskey that they all need to do. McCaskey needs to get out of the way. Kevin Moore needs to make certain decisions differently, and Ryan Poles needs to start drafting people that actually are going to make impact. But it's the right step, but we'll see.
Yes, sir.
It was funny, the Woody Johnson thing. I saw this thing the other day. Apparently, like, the last time Trump was in office, Woody Johnson served as, like, an ambassador for, like, London or something like that.
Yeah,
and,
he was a ambassador, yeah.
Yeah, and the NFL said, like, you can't, if you're going to be overseas as an ambassador, you can't, be making NFL, decisions. So you need to hand over, the keys to somebody else while you're out there. You can't make them sell the team for that, but, like, you can't be in charge. And apparently there was, like, a bunch of stuff coming out that, like, those years when he was overseas, like, even though, like, the Jets weren't winning necessarily, their culture was, like, insanely better. And so this person was like, maybe with Trump getting inaugurated on Monday, he's like, maybe Woody Johnson will go to, like, Albania or something, and the Jets can just be better.
What we were saying, you have an owner that comes into the locker room to tell his players that he's paying that they suck.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah, the whole Madden rating thing.
It's unbelievable.
The fact that there's even if only 1% of that story is true, it's too much of a percentage.
Yeah.
The whole Robert Saleh thing, the Devontae Adams situation, like all of it, and like now you're looking at, I don't see a world in where Devontae Adams is still a Jet by the end of the trade deadline next year. Do you? I just don't see it. Like, what's the point? It's not like he's got 5 prime years left in him. You're more than likely not, unless Aaron Rodgers decides to run it back, you're more than likely not going to have any sort of competent quarterbacking going on. Unless they go after Sam Darnold again. Which would be funny.
Yeah. Take 2 with Darnold.
That would be really funny if they brought back Sam Darnold. That would be so funny.
I saw a meme today. It was like Sam Darnold better watch out. If he keeps playing like this, he's gonna get $100 million from Cleveland.
Yeah, right.
That's pretty funny.
I was seeing this thing they were talking about, like where they think all of the like all the quarterback needy teams, like who they think will be quarterbacking them next year if like the draft were to be quote unquote like chalk. So they had Tennessee, because it's Tennessee and then Cleveland, right?
Yep.
So they had Tennessee taking Shedeur Sanders, and then Cleveland taking Cam Ward, I think his name is, right? Cam
Yep.
Ward?
Yeah.
Yeah, I blanked. Yeah. So they were like, let's just say those two teams pick, like, where would you have people? And they were going through it, and like they had Russell Wilson being a Giant, which 5 years too late, right, Mark?
I'm sorry?
I said 5 years too late, right?
Yeah.
They had Kirk Cousins, I think, in Oakland or Vegas or whatever. Justin Fields in New Orleans. Aaron Rodgers in Pittsburgh.
Oof.
And they had, where was Sam Darnold? I can't remember where they had Sam Darnold. I'm trying to think now. Oh, they had Sam Darnold staying on the Vikings on like a 1 year deal, like 1 year, $50 million or something like that. Just like, keep like, yes, the end wasn't so great there, but like, he knows the system, he knows the players, the team, they all know each other, they get along, whatever. If JJ McCarthy's not ready to go, you have him. You don't have to reteach your QB1 something. And then the Jets had, the Jets was funny. They had Jameis. And I was just sitting there, and I'm like reading through all of it, and like the Russell Wilson one made sense for the Giants just from the standpoint of like, this isn't the quarterback of the future, but it gives the Giants, the Giants management is showing the fans that they're not mailing in the season and tanking for, the first overall pick, that they're putting a quarterback out there that won games last year, and they're trying to help, progress their rookie receiver and this and that and give their team a chance to win some games and whatnot, but they're not going all in on some like a Sam Darnold type of guy. And they were going through like the Jets just are kind of in a situation where they don't really have anywhere to go. And then the New Orleans one was really funny because they were like, Justin Fields won some games but didn't show anything impressive. He was benched for the season, so he's gonna be whatchamacallit, he'll be cheap, which the Saints need more than anything. That's right. The Jets traded for Derek Carr and got Jameis Winston. I'm looking at it now. And then they were like +2. The Saints just the Saints are gonna really need a new Taysom Hill. So you're gonna see Justin Fields become what everybody thought he would be in Pittsburgh in New Orleans. And I was like, that's funny.
Yeah, it'll be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see. It's funny where it's like the Steelers thing is one of the more enticing parts to me because like a lot of like things I'm reading about like what they think rosters will look like next year and quarterbacking teams, and maybe Massey can alert some of this more than I can because he reads and listens to and watches a lot more NFL media than I do. I tend to just more so focus on my team and then what I scroll across on social media and find interesting. But I feel like everything I see just has the Steelers not like just cutting ties with both Fields and Wilson.
It's,
And
nobody expects the quarterback for next year to be on their roster right now.
Which it just surprises me from the standpoint of like it's not like there's like a plethora of talented free agent quarterbacks out there. I don't see the Steelers spending $40 million on Sam Darnold. While the Aaron Rodgers
Jimmy G,
thing would,
baby.
I guess, but if you're gonna go after like a Jimmy G, why would you not just keep Russell Wilson, as like an actual veteran quarterback that was winning you games, or at least Justin Fields as a young on the cheap guy? It just like to me,
Justin
it's
Fields
just.
might not be cheap now.
But do you think Justin Fields is really going to
After
command?
giving some music Jimmy G to the Steelers, he wants them for himself.
But do you think that Fields is really going to command more than like backup quarterback money?
I don't
Yep.
see it. I mean, it's weird because I
I
feel
think somebody will give him a one-year prove-it deal now that he actually had success in Pittsburgh.
But don't you think? But I mean, I understand you saying that, but at the same time, like the Steelers are like despite everything we were kind of talking about earlier with the ones and dones and stuff like that, like the Steelers aren't some like joke organization. Like they're constantly in the mix for the playoffs and things like that. So it's not like they're an organization that makes a lot of big mistakes. Like if they saw, if Tomlin and the coordinators and all that saw that, like even though they were winning games, like it was better to bench Fields and go with Wilson. Like I feel like that's kind of heard throughout the league. Like I feel like I don't know. Like I mean, I definitely could see someone signing him to a deal on like a compete in camp kind of thing, or even like a Trevor Lawrence situation, like something where it's like, hey, like maybe not Trevor Lawrence because they gave him that big deal, so I can't foresee them thinking he's not going to start. But like, um, I don't know. I find that like very hard to like swallow that he's going to make 15, 20, $25 million next year based off of his 4 games body of work, which weren't impressive. I mean, yes, the Steelers won some games with him, but he didn't do anything any different than he did when he was in Chicago.
it's so strange because I agree with what you guys are saying. It's like they lose because I feel like they didn't come away with a definitive answer after this year. They had like good starting play from both quarterbacks, but neither played well enough to be like, hey, why don't you come back and do it again next year? It's just more middle of the road, and I kind of see them both being gone. I don't know what they're gonna do. It's just like I, I don't know. Seeing the way things kind of played out, if I had to pick between the two, I think I would pick Justin Fields because I just like the upside more. Mass, you disagree?
I'm sorry, I'm being talked to. What was your question again?
Oh no, I thought you were commenting on what I said. I'm sorry. I didn't.
No. I just forgot to mute myself before I responded
No,
to
no,
Ashley.
all good.
So like, what do you like, Master? What do you constitute as like a 1 year prove it deal? Like 25 mil 1 year?
What did Baker get from Tampa Bay?
Like on his contract?
Not the 3-year deal, the 1-year deal before he got that.
Let me see.
Whatever that was, a little bit less than that.
I don't see the Steelers going after Aaron Rodgers.
Baker got 8.5 mil.
Then something around that level, maybe 10 mil then, because contracts have gone up a little bit. But
That's what I'm saying though. Like it's not like that's not like I don't know. It's not like I'm saying that's backup quarterback money. That's like the high end backup market now.
that's a 1-year deal though.
No, I understand that, but I'm saying that's what the money is. Like I don't think he like commands like a lot more money than that. So that's why I'm just saying like it.
You know who
It
the
just
Steelers
like
are going to get?
it just surprise. I'm just saying like it surprises me. Like I
Jimmy G
find it
now.
like
They're getting the
I
Red
find
Rocket.
it. But like again though, but in what situation is bringing in Andy Dalton better than keeping Russell Wilson?
Oh, there is none. I said before, I think if they're going to keep anybody, they're going to keep Russ.
I just don't get the notion, like what I'm seeing out there, of like they're going, like, moving on from both is the right move. Like,
I don't know what they're going to do. Like,
unless there's some like grandmaster plan, like, you know what I mean? Like, unless they're gonna like trade for Kirk Cousins and then like figure it out in upcoming drafts, because like Kirk probably has 3 or 4 years left in him.
well, if the Falcons cut Kirk,
They're not cutting him. He's gonna get traded.
They can
But,
afford
like,
to cut him.
Can they afford to cut him?
Yeah.
I thought it was like a 4-year deal where like the first 2 were like big dead cat money years.
They are, but the rest aren't.
Well, I know. I'm just saying, like, if you're the Falcons, like, I feel like, I don't know. I mean, I look at this wrong. I don't look at it from the business
Hard for them
standpoint.
to do it? No. Can they do it? Yes.
Oh, of course they can do it. I mean, any team can cut any player. I mean, you can.
From what I've read, the Falcons said they're planning on cutting Kirk Cousins.
That just makes no sense to me. Either trade him and get something back, whether it's a 5th or whatever, because of the money.
Nobody's taking on that deal for him.
Then keep him and have him as fucking the backup in case Penix starts struggling and you need to sit him down.
Fuck you, make a trade with Carolina. Go get Bryce Young.
The Panthers are not going to move on from Bryce Young now.
No,
think-
he
I
looked
think-
really good.
No
Uh,
shot.
If he came back and still looked the way he did, sure. Is that going to be
He
the
looks-
Steelers' new MO? Are you guys just going to trade for 4th-year rookie contract deal quarterbacks?
Until we draft our own.
Well, I mean, unfortunately, because of Tomlin, you'll never be in a position to do that unless there's some draft in the next 6 years where like it's 75 quarterbacks deep.
Like the later quarterbacks this year, I think are more intriguing than the early quarterbacks.
Right, but a later
What I'm
quarterback.
hearing is that Quinn Ewers is going to be a Steeler next year.
But like late quarterbacks are projects; they're not first-year starters.
Yeah, I'd rather have fucking Will Howard mask.
Will Howard, which is that the Ohio State kid?
Yeah,
I don't think he's declaring this year, is he?
there was a mock draft that had him like in the 4th round. I think he's a senior.
Is he?
Yeah, I
Either
think
way,
so.
he's not great.
No,
This Riley Leonard guy looks like ass.
Fuck him.
I saw somebody was telling me, I was talking to a Giants fan the other day, and again, Mass, you would know about this stuff way more than I would, but he was telling me that he wants the Giants to go after Darnold or somebody of that like caliber for like a 1-year, maybe 2-year deal, and try to get Jackson Dart. He thinks
that's
Jackson
who I was
Dart.
thinking about.
He thinks Jackson Dart
You
is
get
going to
who?
be Jackson Dart from Mississippi.
Oh,
Like he said, he's like, I don't want to get him this year and start him. He goes, I want to get him and have him sit for at least a year. He goes, so go out and get like a Darnold or get like a Russell Wilson, like somebody that you can sign to like a 2-year deal and like, let him sit for at least a year. But he thinks he's going to be good. I don't know.
When was the last time it was day 2 or day 3 quarterback? Besides Brock Purdy.
I mean, wasn't like, oh, you mean like who was the last most successful one?
Yeah.
Was it Russ?
It's a long time
no,
ago.
there's somebody before him. Hold on, let me take a look.
Lamar was like the last pick, right?
Isn't Purdy
Yeah,
a
the first
free
round,
agent
yeah.
this year?
Well, I mean, Jalen
No,
Hurts was the
there's-
second. Jalen Hurts, I mean, I'm not saying he's great, but I'm just saying he was a second.
He wins games.
He was a day 2 quarterback.
Yeah.
Let's see.
I can't get Geno Smith out of my head just because of how like big of a deal it was. That he fell to the second round. Since 2010, there's been 32 quarterbacks drafted. They have
Let's quarterbacks.
So,
Second
Russell
round, Jalen
Wilson.
Hurts.
Yeah, Russell Wilson, Jalen
before
Hurts,
Jalen Hurts.
Andy Dalton, Colin Kaepernick, Derek Carr, Nick Foles, Geno Smith, Mike Glennon, Garoppolo, Brissett, Rudolph, Drew Lock, Davis
Garoppolo.
Mills. I think Hurts is over Garoppolo.
I'll take Jimmy G.
I think Russell Wilson's probably the most recent, like, actual successful, like you know what I mean? Like Jimmy G went to a couple Super Bowl, went to 2 or 1.
Went to 2. Went to 3.
Oh,
Wait, you mean as a starter?
played in.
Then 1.
So he played in 1 Super Bowl. Hurts played in 1. I mean, Wilson's been to 2 and won 1. I mean, I don't like.
Ooh, Deshaun Kaiser.
That's the one.
Oh no, that's not the guy who died. Who died? Dwayne Haskins. Those who died.
Yeah.
Dwayne Haskins. He was a first-round pick.
I think the Steelers are like hoping that he panned out.
And Dwayne Haskins was
Hackenberg.
Dwayne Haskins was responsible for
one. Dak Prescott.
I think he was undrafted.
You know, if I'm the Steelers and like the Cowboys are willing to trade him, I'd be willing to do that.
Dak Prescott was a 4th-round pick.
Yeah, I mean, so I guess Kyle, what's your definition of successful?
No, you guys hit it. I just couldn't remember off the top of my head.
Dak Prescott is the highest paid quarterback ever. That is success to some degree. Just because the Cowboys are dumb doesn't mean that it's not successful.
I don't know. I think you're splitting hairs on that one. I think you just proved your point and then fought against it all in the same segment.
Dak's a good quarterback. Not great, but he's a good quarterback. But I take him
Brock
to Pittsburgh.
Osweiler, Nick Foles, Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, none of those guys.
Cordell Stewart.
Nick Foles won a Super Bowl.
Tremaine Burton won a Super Bowl.
Andy Dalton, Colin Kaepernick.
I'll argue with you to the end of time that Nick Foles was not as successful, did not have a successful NFL career.
I think he has 2 things going for him. He won't ever be a Hall of Famer, but he owns the most touchdowns in a game record.
He co-owns it.
And he
co-owns the record, which is the big difference.
He's gotten paid.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, like, I don't think I would not denote him as being a successful NFL quarterback career. If you made an entire list of all the quarterbacks, I don't think he's in the top 30%.
Got that huge deal from Jacksonville, got hurt.
2008 here.
Huh?
Go back to 2008 here.
I mean, fuck, man. Are the Saints gonna trade? Are the Saints trading Derek Carr? Is that a thing?
Oh God, Kyle.
I would take Derek Carr in Pittsburgh.
Kyle, it's Tyrus Thomas all over again.
Who are we talking?
Matas Buzelis is declaring for the slam dunk competition.
Awesome. The guy's white.
I know, but Tyrus Thomas did that as a rookie for the Bulls, and it basically derailed his entire career.
Talk about how bad the Pelicans are real quick.
I mean, Russell Wilson's got to be like the most successful day 2 quarterback taken.
Yeah, I would imagine so.
I'm very sure I'll give it to you.
Huh? What, Mass?
For day 2, I'll give that to you.
Yeah, day 2, not post first round, but day 2. I mean, you figure what
In
he's.
recent memory, sure, why not?
Let's see.
I want Derek
How
Carr.
are we going to discount Will Levis?
At this point, I'll take anybody.
Put some weapons around him. He's fine.
Just need an actual thrower.
I said Derek Carr. I would take him in Pittsburgh.
Eh.
Dude, the guy was throwing to fucking nobodies for 3 years in New Orleans. Cut the guy some break. He played for two incompetent organizations.
Actually, no. In recent memory, yeah. Not all time.
That's why I said in recent memory.
He's probably what, third all time? Yeah.
Probably somewhere in there.
He's third. He's behind Breeze and Favre. Breeze and Favre would be ahead of him.
Hmm.
Yeah.
But I would put Russell Wilson over like Boomer Esiason and Randall Cunningham. Although Randall Cunningham was an all-time great punter.
Guy was a good player.
Yeah. It's kind of funny how the Eagles just kind of keep getting mobile black quarterbacks.
Just over and over again.
Randall Cunningham, Donovan McNabb, Michael Vick. Yep. Mike Vick, Jalen Hurts.
Hey, they got their guy.
Yep, Foles.
Actually, Wentz was mobile. Talk about a career that went downhill fast.
Hey, that's the guy projected to be the Sam Darnold of 2025.
Oh, this is funny. This guy responded to a thing about how it's Ohio State already has the national championship game wrapped up. And first comment on it is, yeah, but you still lost to Michigan. Which will just always be funny. Ugh. What else you guys got?
I don't know.
Well, does Kyle have anything?
Yeah, I got like pretty, but Matthew said he has a draft for us.
All right. I'm listening.
I don't think he's here right now.
All right, real quick. I'll go through these divisional takeaways. You guys tell me what you think. Divisional round takeaways.
Shoot.
One from each team. Ready? All right. Buffalo Bills, 0 turnovers and 1 sack. Josh Allen has gotten so good at avoiding negative plays that it's translating to winning almost exclusively now.
Yeah, Josh Allen's a good quarterback.
Philadelphia, this is such a loaded roster. The QB plays poorly, and it doesn't even matter with how good that defense is and how otherworldly Saquon Barkley has been.
Yeah, I mean, Barkley's just been the godsend for that team this year.
Baltimore Ravens, this one's a fun one. It's hard not to blame Mark Andrews for his drop and his fumble, but Lamar Jackson's 2 turnovers and absolutely unnecessary goal line sack doesn't help the situation.
Yeah, Kyle said it best, doing too much. That interception was ridiculous.
Even the most optimistic Washington fan didn't expect this. JD is having an all-time rookie season, and just beating the number 1 seed is already Washington's Super Bowl.
Good for
Yeah.
Terry McLaurin.
I don't know. I think
The
Paul.
guy-
Oh, go ahead, Kyle.
No, the guy he's gone through a lot of fucking quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He always stayed quiet.
It's like Mike Evans.
Yep.
It's time to have the conversation. Is Dan Campbell's aggressive coaching nature the problem, or is Jared Goff just not a Super Bowl caliber quarterback?
Jared Goff is not a Super Bowl caliber quarterback. Both.
I have to say, I think 2 things can be true here.
Yeah.
Kansas City, this is what the Chiefs defense does. They limit the explosive plays, force teams to sustain long drives, and prevent touchdowns.
Not next week, y'all.
Well, it'll be interesting because the Bills thrive off of long drives.
Hope
It
it's
was
their
the key to
year.
beating the Ravens.
Texans, sure, blame the refs, but the Texans were in Kansas City territory 6 times and scored 12 points. That's not how you win a football game.
They're absolutely right. But two things can be true here as well.
Yeah. I mean, real quick on that, like, I know Kyle, we all know how Kyle feels. The roughing the passer call where the helmet, where he, like, kind of was, like, hitting him as he was throwing it.
Mm-hmm.
Was that Will Anderson, right?
Yep.
That play I have zero problem with because you led into the upper portion of his body, regardless if you it was hard or whatever. You led with your helmet into the shoulders and up area. That's gonna get called, especially against a successful quarterback, time and time again. Doesn't matter if it was Mahomes. That would have been called against Aaron Rodgers. That would have been called against fucking Tom Brady back in the day. It would have been called against Peyton Manning. It would have been called against Drew Brees. That they would have got that call. You led with who?
Josh Allen
Yeah.
would get that call.
Right, like you led you led with your head into the upper body area. Whether or not it was intentional doesn't matter. That's not how the rule's written. I have zero problem with that call being called. But the NFL, they need to reevaluate this quarterback's safety situation because it is as much as you want to protect quarterbacks, you cannot allow to dance around on the sideline, baiting players to come hit him just for him to drop down and grab. That was an unnecessary flag that should have never been thrown.
Mm-hmm.
There was nothing that either of those two defenders could have done. Patrick Mahomes put himself in danger in that situation by dropping down and putting his head in harm's way. The defense played it perfectly. They went in for where the body would have been, but he dropped down, and that has to stop because that was the most egregiously disgusting thing penalty wise over the course of the entire weekend. The Jared Goff one sucked where the Redskins should have gotten the Redskins should have gotten called for a helmet to helmet block tackle whatever on Jared Goff on that pick six, which would have negated the touchdown and put them at first and the Washington would have had the ball at 1st and 10 on the 35 or wherever it was. But that's a play that, like, the refs missing that call, there's some understandability to it. It's running the other direction. Not all the refs are on the able to keep up with the play. You're watching the ball carrier. You're looking for holding on blocks. You're not necessarily seeing that. I get that. But the Patrick Mahomes one where he just dropped down, and it doesn't matter. It's the Chiefs because other teams do this, and it's just as bad. Baiting teams into those tackles. I mean, that should be treated exactly like the NBA treated the pump fake. Well, no, not flopping. The NBA changed the rule, the James Harden rule, essentially, where if you pump fake and get a player into the air, if the player is jumping straight up and down, you can't jump into them to create contact to get a foul call. So if I pump fake and you jump straight up in the air, Mass, I can't barrel into you and throw the ball up in the air and you fouled me in the act of shooting. Now if you bite on it and jump forward, I can jump straight up into you and get the contact. But I can't jump into you to create the foul, and that's basically what Patrick Mahomes is doing. He's setting himself up to get penalized.
Mm-hmm.
Good. Next person, hurt the motherfucker. Then he'll stop doing it.
Well, that's the reason the NFL needs to change it, is because that is going to be the next course of action. Is players are going to start making business decisions and taking fines to set an example.
Yeah, like money.
And
So
then,
what?
And then the narrative is going to switch from the refs are in the Chiefs' pockets to player A, B, or C being the dirtiest player of all time, because someone's going to level Mahomes out. Someone's going to intentionally try to hurt him.
I wouldn't be surprised to see it happen in the Super Bowl. I really wouldn't.
Right. Someone's going to do it, and that's going to be a problem. All right. LA Rams.
I don't think Jalen Carter has any problem doing it.
Oh, I don't think anybody on that Eagles defense has a problem doing it.
I don't think anybody on the Bills has a realistic problem with doing it either, if I'm being completely honest.
And let's be realistic. If any of the 22 of those guys don't want to do it, please insert Marshawn Lattimore here. Because Marshawn
no
Lattimore he'll go to jail to prove it. This one's a little harsh, and I feel bad saying it, given the fact that we have a fan of the team on the show. I didn't
hear
learn. It's the Pro Football Impact Instagram page, so direct your hatred towards them. A very young and explosive team. They're going to be better next year and every year to come. But the Rams are this week's winners of the Happy to Be Here award.
I don't know what that
So,
means.
Like you guys just played like you were happy to be there. It didn't, like they're saying that it didn't feel like you guys showed up to play a competitive football game because you were just happy to be where you were.
I'll agree with that for offense.
You know, like that was the Broncos got that award last year. Like the Broncos were just like, oh my god, I can't believe we made it. We're just happy to be involved, and then they got their doors blown off.
Yeah, I'll agree with that for the offense.
Yeah, we talked about it yesterday. The defense fucking played great. There were 3 plays that fucked them.
And honestly, because we'd lost 2 defensive players leading up to those plays that were out, and that's why those plays happened.
But like the Kyron Williams fumble,
well, except for one. Huh?
Like the Kyron Williams fumble, the defense stopped them. They didn't move the ball at all.
Right.
Like, the fuck you want them to do? They were on the field for like 75% of that game.
Yep. I'm upset because I truly believe if it wasn't a snow game, we would have won the game.
I agree.
Yeah, Stafford,
but, you know what?
For having played a large part of his career in Detroit because it's indoors, Stafford has a pretty shit record in the cold.
Like Stafford turned it on like with the last 5 minutes.
Here's the thing.
I'm not
was
blaming.
hitting a lot of his throws. He had a lot of drops.
Yeah, I'm not blaming Stafford.
Nakua dropped 2, Cup dropped 1, DeMarcus dropped 1.
I just want to be clear though. I'm not blaming Stafford. I'm just saying like his record. Yeah. His record in the cold is shit. Whatever the reasons are, like whether it's receivers dropping balls, defenses not being able to stop runs, running backs, whatever. I'm just, in the NFL nature, we blame everything on the quarterback.
Like in the first drive or whatever, when Stafford threw the ball to Marcus Robinson in the end zone, that they made a big deal that Darius Slay made a play on it. That ball hit fucking Robinson in the chest.
Yeah.
You got to catch that.
Yeah, Slay didn't do shit.
Yeah. Even Slay said it yesterday after that. He's like, Ben, Stafford was fucking slinging it everywhere. And I get sick of when he does that. Slay said that, which made me laugh. And I was like, because these guys know he can do it. We were one miscue away from winning that game. Jalen Carter didn't get a free run of the quarterback on 3 and 2. We probably win that. Because Tyler Higbee is wide open in the end zone.
Baltimore got a second one here. If there's anything, the only thing that might be possibly more annoying than the Dallas Cowboys head coaching search this offseason will be the Lamar discourse of taking a range between it wasn't his fault and it's never been his fault all the way to he's not able to win a big game. And we're not really sure where we land on this. And that's fair.
I think it's somewhere in between, really.
I think it's right in the middle. I think that he
deserves blame, but it wasn't all on him. He did enough to lead them down to tie the game. Sure enough, you shouldn't be in that position in the first place, but he did enough to get them there.
Yep.
The problem I had with Lamar yesterday was that fumble, which was all on him.
The fumble. See, the fumble I don't care about. Fumbles happen. Those types of things happen. Lamar being first and goal at the 2 and taking a 12-yard sack was the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen such an established veteran quarterback do.
If you're 1st and 2, you give the ball to fucking Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
To be first and goal and then end up outside of the 10 is ridiculous, and that play was entirely on Lamar Jackson. And so that's why I say, like, it's right in the middle. Like, he doesn't do enough to win the games, but it's not, there are other factors that contribute into the losses, whether it's play calling, head coaching, drops, whatever, defense. And then the last one, this one's just a little humor one they threw in. I hope Woody Johnson doesn't ask any of his children about what they think about hiring Aaron Glenn, because they'll just show him the Madden defense and go, how did he lose with this many 90s on the roster?
That's pretty funny.
The joke, obviously, being only 5 of those guys played. And there you go. There's your Pro Football Impact, whatever. Blah, blah, blah.
Nice.
I tell you what,
I
though.
don't like
That
those
the Teddy Bruschi thing yesterday really got me going, though. I really loved that.
I don't know what the Teddy Bruschi thing is. I saw somebody mention that, but I didn't catch what it was.
So, like, the Teddy Bruschi thing was, so it was him and Rex Ryan were kind of going, like, back and forth about it. Like, Rex Ryan was saying, like, like, how many defensive players they're missing and this and that, and Teddy Bruschi was making the argument about, like, it doesn't matter. You set records for everything. Your defense was giving up 30-plus points a game the entire second half of the season, and you found ways to win every single one of those games. And
Yeah.
which, like, and it was fine. They were both making good points, but at the end, Teddy Bruschi just said, he goes, the only thing, he goes, if the Lions need to take anything away from this, it's that while they haven't gotten to the big dance yet, they've been dominant enough that nobody's going to feel sorry for you getting eliminated anymore. And I was like,
Yeah.
good. And that's the way it should be. No one's going to cry because no one outside of the Lions fan base is going to be like, oh man, the Lions can't catch a break. Like, you've been dominant now for 2 years, and you haven't gotten there, whatever the reasons might be, but
They've arguably been the best team in the NFC the last 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Well, and then Teddy Bruschi also said the other thing he said at the end of it too, which is what I thought was really good, is he was talking about all the trick plays that they were running, when they were down, like the Jameson Williams throw, and these types of things. And he goes, I understand that that's part of their offense, but he goes, to me, it felt like Dan Campbell and Ben Johnson were running a game plan that was designed as if they knew they were going to blow the doors off Washington. And then they found themselves in a game that they couldn't keep up in.
Yeah.
They would have if they just kept running the fucking football.
But they didn't.
Yeah, I mean, well, I mean, it's, I would, like, we'll never know all the answers to these questions, obviously, but, like, one thing, like, I would love to know, like, did they game plan that, David Montgomery was going to be a little bit healthier than he was? Because, like, I saw he was playing, but, like, when I watched him on, like, the few times he played on the field, like, he just didn't look like he had that explosiveness. And that's understandable, but, like, did they game plan to have the Thunder and Lightning kind of combo, and they didn't have it? Like,
Excuse me. You mean
or whatever.
Sonic and Knuckles?
Yeah, Thunder and Lightning. Black Eye and Black Eye. Like, did they game plan did they game plan as if, like, they thought, like, oh, if we get, like, shootout, we're gonna win a shootout no matter what? So, like, I don't know. It was the first time in the Ben Johnson, Dan Campbell, like, run of the Lions getting over that hump and being good, like, from, what was it? Was it 2 years ago when they were, like, started, like, 1-7 or whatever, and finished
the season well.
Yeah, right. That was 2 years ago.
Yeah. Yep.
Like, ever since, like, the midway point of the 2022 season, yesterday felt like the first, like, time I watched a Lions game, and they just looked unprepared.
Yeah,
and I'll put Aaron Glenn into it too. I think Aaron Glenn does get the benefit of the doubt because he's playing with so many depleted starters, and but at the same time, I don't give him the benefit of the doubt because, like, if this game was reversed, right? If the games were reversed, if the Lions got their doors blown off by the Rams, I would give Aaron Glenn a little bit more of the benefit of the doubt, I think, because you have an offense that's got people on it that know how to win in the postseason, with a head coach that knows how to win in the postseason, with an organization that knows what it takes to be successful, going up against a bunch of players that have never done this before.
Right.
But
Dan Quinn coached the team to the Super Bowl.
no, I understand. Dan Quinn coached the team to the Super Bowl, but no, like, other than Marshawn Lattimore, nobody else on that team really knows success. You know what I mean? Like nobody else on that team knows what it's like to play in that moment. Your whole team did that last year.
There's one guy,
Huh?
Bobby Wagner.
Yeah, well, Bobby Wagner's not ever going to be the same man after getting blown up by Baker Mayfield. One of the greatest Baker Mayfield highlights of all time is him just trucking Bobby Wagner into a different zip code. I know that brought Mass so much joy.
It really did, because I love Baker. I love Bobby too. I enjoyed his 1 year with us, but
I say Bobby Wagner is like your Charles Woodson, right?
Yeah.
Like he's
can't
the
hate the
defensive.
guy.
No, like you can hate him, but like you respect him, and if he was ever on your team
Oh, yeah.
in his prime, you would have been thrilled.
Oh, absolutely. We almost drafted him. We called him 2 picks before the Seahawks picked him to say, "Hey, listen, you're coming up. We're going to draft you," and they drafted him right in front of us.
All right. Before we sign off, I'd like to get who your guys' things are. So, like, I'll give you, because I've been very vocal about this. There's my AJ Hawk, right? There's my Clay Matthews, and then there's my Charles Woodson, who the real life version of that actually became a thing, Jared Allen. So the Charles Woodson, Jared Allen is the player like that I love watching them. I think they're otherworldly talented. I hate them because they're so good against my team, but I would give up heaven and earth to have had them on my team in their prime. Then there's the Clay Matthews where it's like, fuck, they're so good and they just do nothing but destroy us, and I fucking hate him. But if he came to the team, I'd be like, all right, I don't know if I'm gonna feel about this, but I'm in for it. And then there's the AJ Hawks, which is just AJ Hawk could have came at any point in his career, and I would have just been like, all right, I don't watch defense anymore.
That's Joe Flacco.
No, okay. Is Joe Flacco really your
AJ Hawk?
Really?
Yeah.
I'm very surprised by that.
Well, there's a lot of guys like I kind of had to respect, like the Ray Lewis, Terrell Suggs.
You can respect them, but still hate them.
Oh,
So like I'll give you well, like, all right, so here I'll give you for example in that situation.
Terrell Suggs.
I respect Adrian Peterson. I would have hated him being a Bear at any point in his career. I never liked Adrian Peterson. I respected him. I think he's one of the best running backs to ever play the game. Would have never been happy if he was a Bear. I hate him. So I'm just saying, like, I'm just like giving you that example.
I guess Terrell Suggs would be that guy.
Okay. So who's your Clay Matt? Fucking
Ed Reed.
yeah, if that makes sense. And then who's your Charles Woodson? Ray Lewis.
Ray Lewis.
Yeah. All right. Kendall's that fall in line for you too?
Yeah, I guess I would go with Ed Reed's the guy I would have wanted. Suggs would have been the guy that would be the Clay Matthews, and then Ray Lewis would be the guy I'd hate because he's just annoying.
All right.
I would also put Joe Burrow in that list.
The AJ Hawk
Ray
side?
Lewis. No, the Ray Lewis side.
On your side. Okay, got it. That's fair. Massey? And it doesn't have to all be from. It doesn't all have to be from one team either.
Yeah, it just kind of worked out that way.
Exactly.
Yeah. Massey, do you have yours? All three of them.
Well, which one first?
All right. Who's your Charles Woodson? Who's the guy that like you love everything about him? You love everything about him except the jersey he wears.
Probably
Oh, yeah.
Bobby Wagner.
Okay. And then who's your Clay Matthews? Where like you hate him and you probably would like him if he was wearing your jersey.
George Kittle.
And then who's your guy that just would almost turn you
Deebo
off
Samuel.
to watching your team? Who?
Deebo Samuel, 100%.
Deebo Samuel. Okay. All right. I like that.
I changed my Terrell Suggs answer.
Is it to Haloti Nagata?
It's Vontez Perfect.
Yeah, that's fair. Although probably, I mean, if Vontez Perfect was a Steeler, it probably would have expedited the CTE thing, and he would have known who Brown was earlier.
No, because he probably wouldn't have laid him out.
He would have laid him out in practice. You kidding me?
That's true.
I'll tell you what, though.
Perfect's a piece of shit.
Oh yeah. One thing, Pac-Man Jones too. Fuck him.
Yeah, he sucked.
Fuck that whole Bengals team.
One thing I really like about the way the playoffs worked out, though, is I always like when we get one of those, like when we get a divisional matchup in championship weekend. That's always fun. Because you like, you know what I mean? Like even if it like on paper is one-sided, it won't be, because like the division opponents just always play each other to a different level. It brings like a different element to the game.
I think Washington wins this game.
I think a lot of it's gonna depend on Jalen Hurts' mobility, because I was reading some stuff. I was talking to Mass about it earlier. Where his knee is just not.
Yeah, I hope it's a good game though. Like,
I think Washington wins.
Hey, very good. It's I think you could argue it's the hotter team. I mean, not that.
You're a hotter team.
Thank you. I mean, not that Philadelphia's been a slouch by any stretch, but I just think there's a certain. I just what would happen is I think the kind of what Paul was alluding to before, like the happy to be there type situation. I could see that falling into Washington. But we shall see.
Can you hear me?
Yes, now we can.
Now we can.
Okay. All right. Defensively for the Commanders, it's going to come down to Saquon. What are they going to do?
Yep.
We'll see. Any closing remarks?
No.
Yes.
Nothing on this side.
Oh, sick! Quick toast of excellence. I'm watching the national championship game. I didn't realize that it's the 100th anniversary of the Goodyear blimp. One of the most iconic symbols in sports.
I did not know.
Yeah.
What is this the anniversary of?
The Goodyear blimp. It's the century mark of the Goodyear blimp.
Oh.
It's one of the most iconic.
I saw one of those the other day.
Yeah, the Goodyear blimp is awesome. A long time ago, when they were doing no, but a long time ago when they used to do like the big arena shows for WrestleMania, they used to have a blimp that would go around inside the dome.
Yeah.
They would have an indoor blimp. Imagine fucking paying. Imagine back then. Imagine in like the '80s, late '80s, early '90s, paying $120 for a fucking nosebleed seat just to be sitting behind a fucking blimp for 30 minutes.
Right?
Yeah.
It's pretty wild. Like Kyle, imagine you pay $130 and you have to miss the worm because there's a blimp.
They'd be pissed.
Right?
You don't fuck with Scotty too hotty like that.
Yeah.
Scotty Tahati.
Grandmaster Sexay fucked with him, and that's why he's dead.
Oh.
Right.
DED. All right, quick reviews. Souls, how was your brisk?
Refreshing and iced tea and ready for almost like chromosomes.
There you go.
Hilarious.
Kyle,
So tired.
Kyle, quick question: was your iced tea cold?
No, room temp.
So it wasn't brisk.
No, it was whisk.
Nice. Mass, how was your seltzer?
Nice and refreshing.
Did
It was
tequila ever
brisk.
make it into the mix?
A little bit of it did.
Well, what tequila?
Is it a LaCroix?
What?
Is it a LaCroix?
No, it's Polar.
Okay.
Hey, Kyle.
What tequila was it?
Casamigos.
Nice. Cristalino?
Uh-huh.
Nice. Kendall.
I reviewed this before. I had the San Giuseppe Cool Sweet Red. What I will say is just imagine if you've never had wine before, just imagine what wine would taste like. And this is kind of like what wine would taste like. And that's my review.
No, wine.
No, kind of like wine. Like imagine, like, you know what wine tastes like? Just like describe that to someone who's never had wine before, and that's what it tastes like.
Ass.
Yeah, that's your opinion.
That's the right one.
All right. I had Coors, the banquet beer. It's a filling domestic beer that doesn't taste like dog shit, and I would really recommend it. It's a non-light beer that's very crushable, but like flavorful too. Not like Budweiser.
Yeah, Kendall.
Those bastards at Anheuser-Busch.
Hey,
I know a guy who was going to see Anheuser-Busch one time, and he had to get on a stretcher, a hospital stretcher on the tarmac.
Kendall loves Budweiser.
Mass, that was you.
You?
Mass, you were that guy.
Oh, yes, I was.
You were that guy when you were going to see a St. Louis Rams game.
I also lied.
So-
That's not Kendall.
Yes, we're
Oh,
saying.
My bad, Kendall.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Getting Sports for Drunk. If you want to see more or listen to more episodes of Getting Sports for Drunk, you can find them.
Hey, you could find them wherever you get your podcasts, be it, I don't know, iHeart, Google Play, iTunes, Spotify. Listen, we're there.
Wherever you find internet and radio podcasts, you find us. I feel like I'm forgetting something.
Follow us on our socials.
Oh, yeah, social medias.
Facebook, Getting Sports with Drunk, Twitter and Instagram, GSWD_4.
Make sure to use the hashtag GSWD for all your daily uses, whether it's having to leave halfway through the show because your daughter needs to be put to bed, or have to leave again because your daughter doesn't want to go to bed.
Like, follow, subscribe, do it.
Well, thank you for tuning in to another episode. Next week we will do some more football talk, then we'll do a little bit more football talk, then we'll do a little bit more football talk, and then before you know it, Kyle's going to be reviewing everything you need to know about the San Diego Padres.
Ooh, my second least favorite team.
That is not true.
Yeah, they're my third now.
That's also still not true.
No, it's very true.
You hate the San Diego Padres. So what does it go? It goes what? Braves, Dodgers.
Yes.
You hate the Padres more than you hate the Yankees.
Yes.
All right. Welcome to another episode of.
That's not true.
I say
Even I
welcome
know
to
that's
another.
not true.
Welcome to another
I don't
episode
like
of.
Padres.
I hope that's not for sale because I'm not buying.
Padres are fucking annoying and they're stupid and fuck all
And
their
they don't-
players because they're all trash.
And they don't win, so why is it worth your time hating them?
I just always haven't liked them. What do you want from me?
I want you to be honest with us.
The truth.
I don't like the
Oh,
Padres.
Mass, that was good. I like you, Mass.
I
I
don't
like
like
you
the
too, bud.
Padres.
Well, Kyle's going to reevaluate his teams that he hates the most. Listen, he's going to come back to us next week with a real honest list. In
Padres
order.
are one.
You piece of shit. Until next time, I'm your host, Cupcake the Riddler.
I hate the Atlanta Braves.
I'm the Master Chris Massey.
And the Red of a Red Baron.
Garlic parm.
Yeah.